world famous journalist and author Michael Shellenberger a little earlier. Michael Shellenberger, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
Now, there was this expectation that under the Trump administration, we'd see the release of the so-called Epstein files. But we've now seen the Department of Justice and the White House claim there aren't any files. What do you think the truth is here?
I think that what I think is what I think most reporters here think and most of the public think, which is that there's a lot of files. I mean, the Attorney General said it truckloads full, tens of thousands of videos. Epstein's victims had said that they were videotaping the sexual activity, the sexual abuse, the sex trafficking. Look, most people that have covered this, and by the way, it's left wing, right wing, mainstream news media, Miami Herald. I mean, it's pretty widely held among the journalists that have covered this that this was a sex blackmail operation with ties to the intelligence community. The former director of the Central Intelligence Agency was at Epstein's apartment multiple times. That was reported by the Wall Street Journal. Bill Gates famously was there, and his ex-wife told a reporter that it was a major reason for their divorce. This is serious business because it's not just about sex trafficking. It's about really the undermining of democracy potentially if they're entrapping politicians in sex blackmail operations. You have both the attorney general, you have the director of the FBI, the deputy director of the FBI, who have all said that there's a lot here. Before Trump was elected, his director of the FBI, Kash Patel, said that there was a cover-up occurring because of the people on the list. The deputy director said that foreign intelligence from some Middle Eastern nation was involved in this, which most people interpret as Israel. So there's just a lot here. And I will say credit to Trump supporters. They have not taken what the Trump administration has said at face value. They're demanding answers. They've shown a lot of independence here, which I think is a positive sign for our democracy. It's just sort of one of the side things that's come out of it.
Well, there were high expectations that we'd have a new era of transparency in this administration, and this was one of the key fields. There are others, of course. But when it comes to the Epstein issue, we saw accusations from Elon Musk that Donald Trump was named in the files. Musk, of course, deleted that ex-post and removed those allegations publicly. But do you think there might be any basis to the fact that Trump may be mentioned in some capacity, and that could be why the full files aren't being released at the moment?
I mean, Trump had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein that's pretty well documented. There's photographs, there's videos. Trump has talked about it. Trump has repeatedly said that he did not engage in any inappropriate behavior. I think the best argument that there is nothing linking Trump to Epstein is that the people that tried to prevent Trump from becoming president tried to put him in prison. They tried to prevent him from running for office in a variety of ways. They trumped up a lot of charges trying to turn misdemeanors into felonies, all in this so-called lawfare to prevent Trump from becoming president. If they had Trump tied to Epstein, I don't know why they wouldn't have used it. On the other hand, if there's a lot of people implicated, maybe it's considered, the nuclear option, and there's just so many people implicated. I mean, again, the FBI, the current FBI director last year said that there were people in Congress who were implicated by this. So, we don't know, but like you said, it's not like if this were happening in a context where we were getting transparency and disclosure on a lot of other major conspiracies, and I don't mean theories, I mean proven conspiracies, then I think the response from Trump's base would have been different. But the reality is they just haven't delivered on this particular part of Trump's campaign promise, which was not just transparency, but also really reforming the intelligence community, which we haven't done for 50 years. And I think most people think we need to do.
And Michael, I just want to ask you about the devastating tragedy of the flash floods in Texas. The warning systems were massively inadequate, and we're seeing school children who lost their lives because of it. Is this a leadership issue, and what needs to happen now?
Yeah, it's a really great question. I think that the first thing is that whenever there's a natural disaster, the media says it was completely unprecedented, that there had never been extreme weather that we'd seen before, and therefore it was fundamentally about climate change. On this particular disaster, the media also said that it was because Trump had cut the budget for the National Weather Service. Both of those things have been debunked roundly. I think I credit to X and social media for being able to spread the truth on this. But the fact of the matter is that precipitation has actually declined in that part of Texas, that in fact, flooding has been going on for a very long time. In fact, the flooding was going on for so long that it was something that that the locals had tended to ignore. I mean, I think that this is one of the very important things that comes out of these disasters is that, it was raining very hard and there was this flood risk and people did know about it, but they had been warned for so often. So I think the other lesson is you really have to have the government go and either evacuate people, require that people leave. And then, yeah, it's just what you said, it's basically very simple. It's these big warning systems, these big loudspeakers on, up high. And because I think
Mm.
people ignore their phones or their phones are out of service. So I think that's just the hard lesson from it is that, they had, it'd been going on since the 80s, the flooding. So there was a proposal to have these big loudspeakers and warning systems. They didn't do it. Of course, there's some cost involved. Obviously, that looks ridiculous given the deaths and destruction that have occurred. But yeah, I think that's one of the lessons is that you just have to have these sirens in place to really raise the alarm and make a difference between just a mild mannered warning and a really serious one.
And in fact, in that area, I read that in 1932, there was also major flooding. So you're right, this has been an ongoing issue for the area, and they should have been more prepared. Michael, thank you very much for joining me once again.
Always a pleasure. Good to see you, Sharri.